Nvidia also pulling back just a bit as investors digest that news out of the company's developer conference. Shares sitting around $868. And of course, they've got that new AI chip. I mean, I guess let's just kick this off with maybe even just your initial reaction to everything we've heard so far. Jim, I'll start with you. Are you surprised that we're seeing a little bit of pullback on this news? Was it not as, I don't know, as bang up as the market had hoped to hear?
I don't think that's what it is at all. Okay. I think it's just, it's had a hell of a rally, up 75% year to date, and, something like 3x over the last 12 months. So a little bit of profit taking is warranted. Going into this sort of event, you think to yourself, well, what sort of rabbit can they pull out of a hat? And I'm not expecting them to come up with a cure for cancer on that sort of conference that they do. They did what they are supposed to do. They came up with the next chip that they're going to design, the B200, the Blackwell, updates to the operating system that will keep them on the leading edge of AI technology as far as semiconductors go. They did everything they're supposed to do. As far as it pulling back today, that's kind of noise to me. Stock trades somewhere around 35 times forward earnings. I'm looking at FactSet right now, which thinks that long-term earnings growth is 30%, gives you a PEG ratio of about 1.2. That's absolutely fine. So to summarize, I mean, there's nothing fatal that came out of yesterday. Some people may think that at 35 times it's too expensive. And you know what, Courtney, at some point it will be too expensive. At some point that 30% growth rate will fall off. There will be the double and triple ordering that catches up on client inventories, and then they miss demand or something like that. But that's several quarters away. That's not something to worry about today. This is just a healthy profit-taking pullback.
Okay. Shannon, what do you make? What was your reaction from what we heard and what we heard from Jensen Huang this morning?
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with Jim on this. I think, if you look at Nvidia, it remains sort of the easy button in terms of gaining access to the AI trade. And although there will clearly be competition, and if we think about the perspective that inference will become increasingly more important, and there's obviously going to be, in our view at least, more competition there than what NVIDIA has in terms of the learning chips. I think one of the things you want to really think about is, are there opportunities to garner this exposure outside of NVIDIA and the semis in particular, or even, sort of the Microsoft and Alphabet? Obviously, we had some good news on Gemini earlier this week as well. So I think one of the things is really looking at, to Jim's point, the valuation right now appears justified given the head start, if you will, in terms of what NVIDIA has. But this next leg of the AI trade, it won't be quite as easy to determine who the bigger winners and potentially some of the losers will be. And so I think that you're not probably going to get that dispersion or differentiation, though, till later in the year. So for right now, I think this is just a little bit of near-term profit taking. But looking ahead, I think is going to be necessary to capture this next wave of the trade.
Josh, it seems like a lot of the analysts obviously pretty bullish here. Goldman Sachs raising its target to 1,000 from 875. We're sitting right about, I think, 868 right now. Susquehanna going to 1,050 from 850. Does that feel appropriate for you today, even though we're having a little bit of a pullback on the news?
Hey, Courtney, I kind of feel bad for people who have just learned this story in the last year, as so many investors have. It's interesting. You hear people walking around talking about Blackwell chips and stuff who, like, a year ago, you couldn't understand the difference between linear computing versus nonlinear, or why GPUs, which historically were developed for video games, had anything to do with AI, et cetera. So now everyone's an expert. And that's where we have an issue. I'm long NVIDIA. I've been long for a very long time. I'm still bullish on the future. But I think the issue that we now have is there's this mass acceptance that they are the platform, 80% market share, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody gets that. Who are the new buyers? Is there enough firepower coming in to add another $1 trillion to the market cap here? Because if there isn't, you're talking about price targets of 1,000, 1,050. I want everyone to do this mental exercise with me. On a $950 stock, if it goes to 1050, is anybody throwing a parade? What I like to do with these triple-digit and quadruple-digit stocks is I like to reduce it by 1 point and say this is like a $90 stock going to 100, like big deal. So I think it's going to be really tough for the pace of gains to continue here. I do feel really bad for people who got really excited about it in the last few months. because I don't know how much is left. This is a company that is pulling forward probably 3 to 5 years worth of demand into a single 12 to 18 month time period. They are actively telling governments and Fortune 500 companies, say yes today or get to the back of the line. And guess what CTOs are telling their CEOs? We got to say yes. If we end up on the back of the line, our shareholders are going to think we're schmucks. In that environment, it's not that Nvidia doesn't have opportunity going forward. It's that they are swallowing so many gulps of that opportunity that it's tough to say this is a stock going from $900 to $1,800. And the last thing I want to say on this topic, it really does remind me of Qualcomm in 1999. I think the stock split twice in one calendar year, which is really weird and really insane. And it's not that the bulls were wrong about Qualcomm's opportunity in wireless. It's that they priced it all in, a decade's worth, inside of a year. You have to separate. Is the technology amazing? Of course it is. Is the stock price discounting a lot of how amazing it is? Yes, of course it is.
Very interesting take. Let's actually get some sound from Jensen Huang. He, of course, is the CEO of Nvidia and spoke with our Jim Cramer earlier today. And he says, look, we are more than just a chip company. Take a listen.
If you look at the things that we do, we build the chips, the systems, the networking, and so on and so forth, the entire data center practically, all the software that goes into it. And then we sell it in parts. The reason why we sell, and that is what confuses people. They think that Nvidia is a chip company because we sell everything in parts.
Right.
The reason we do that is so that our customers could integrate Nvidia's technology into their data centers however they like.
Jim, I'm going to get your reaction to that. Do you feel like that is part of why Nvidia has this edge?
Well, yes, but I think actually some of the things that Josh said are spot on.
Okay.
Which is to say that this is not a train that will run forever. The Qualcomm analogy just, up 20-fold in a year and a half at the end of the last millennium. At some point, Nvidia will face the same issues that Qualcomm faced, that any company that catches lightning in a bottle faces, which is to say it has the edge right now. Josh's comments about, CTOs saying we got to buy this now, that's not only what they're doing. They're saying we've got to put in 3 times as many orders as we think we need because we're going to get 1/4 of what we put in. And eventually that will back up and that will bite, in terms of inventories. That's what's more relevant to me. I don't think, by the way, that that's anytime soon. So when we talk about anything that's leading edge for Nvidia right now, this train can run for a little bit further. I don't think it's going to double over the next 12 months, but I think the thing is you have to be prepared, folks, for that quarter that will come, probably 3 quarters from now, maybe 4 quarters from now, where Nvidia says, hey, you know what? Demand came in softer than we expected, and it's because inventories have piled up at customers. That will happen. So let me just summarize this again. As much as we want to talk about how cutting edge Nvidia is, it will be found to be a cyclical semiconductor at some point in time. Not today.
That is really interesting.
Hey, one more thing on this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It should be pointed out, this is a $40,000 chip. How many buyers are there? So we know Microsoft's really excited to buy as many as they can, and they can afford it. We know Alphabet's pretty excited. Probably a pretty good bet. Meta is really excited. And then Amazon. And, look around. It's not as though there are millions of potential customers here. There are end customers of those platforms that will benefit from how many GPUs are installed. But this is not quite the same as estimating, okay, the handset market, 2 billion people are going to need a handset phone. So, look, nobody would say Nvidia is not in the best possible position of any tech company for the next 5 years. No one would argue, okay, great, then what?